In the heart of America, on the banks of the Arkansas River, a story of faith was waiting to be written. The year was 1875, and Wichita, Kansas was a small, dusty town with just a handful of African American residents. There were no black churches, no formal religious institutions, only a small, interdenominational Christian band that met weekly in each other's homes. It was from these quiet, intimate gatherings that a powerful idea was born. In June 1875, the members of the Christian band decided to do something historic. They would organize an African Methodist Episcopal Church. Just a few months later, on August 25th, the vision became a reality. At the home of Mr. and Mrs. Joshua Robinson, the organization of the first AME Church in Wichita was perfected. Presiding elder J.L. Hatton traveled from Emporia to complete the organization, assigning Reverend Dudley Carter to preach once a month. The flame had been lit. By 1876, under the leadership of Reverend James Gorrell, the congregation moved from Mrs. Susan Johnson's home to a rented space on the corner of 2nd and Main Street. It was here that a strong leader, Mr. Thomas Glover, suggested a name that would echo through generations: St. Paul A.M.E. The new church thrived. By 1879, the congregation had outgrown its rented home and purchased a house on North Water Street. This was the first structure officially known as St. Paul. 2 years later, the church bought lots at 2nd and Main for just $30, a testament to their growing commitment. After annual conference, Reverend M. Wooten came to Wichita and a store building was purchased for $100. He then moved to the lots which were previously purchased under the pastorate of Reverend Daly. The house became the parsonage. But the congregation's ambition was to build a sanctuary of their own. Under the pastorate of Reverend Wilson in the late 1880s, the first brick church was erected on North Water. This new spiritual home was a place of powerful growth, birthing a choir of great renown under the musical leadership of Reverend B.R. Watson. The church continued to expand its vision, and by 1912, Reverend C.A. Williams saw the need for an even larger sanctuary. The community rallied, with members and friends pledging to buy bricks to finance the new building. In 1914, the cornerstone was laid, and 4 years later, the magnificent new structure was dedicated, a symbol of their collective faith and hard work. For the next 41 years, this building served as their cherished home. By the early 1950s, St. Paul was facing hard times, with declining membership and the county's desire to build a courthouse and jail on the church's location. But in November 1954, a dynamic young leader arrived to face the challenge: Reverend Hamill Hartford Brookins. With his highly energetic style and a vision for St. Paul as a change agent, he inspired a renewal. The church was sold for $88,000, and a new site was purchased at 17th and Pyatt. A remarkable fundraising effort began, netting $250,000 in cash. With the help of dedicated members like Fred Middleton, a structural engineer who supervised the construction, James Jenkins, who oversaw plumbing, and Abner B. Jackson Jr., who donated the pulpit, the new St. Paul African Methodist Episcopal Church was built and opened in June 1956. The congregation celebrated with a week of dedication services and a joyous motorcade from the old church to the new one. This new era of leadership was just beginning. Reverend Brookins was moved in 1959, succeeded by the skilled administrative hand of Reverend Vinton R. Anderson. Both of these visionary leaders would later be consecrated as bishops of the AME Church. Under Reverend Anderson, the church prospered spiritually and financially, burning its mortgage on May 5, 1963, a beautiful symbol of their freedom from debt. St. Paul was adding 275 new members to its rolls, and Reverend Anderson would go on to become the president of the World Council of Churches. Under the administration of Reverend A.M.E. Morgan, St. Paul took on a project of unprecedented scope, constructing 3 public housing projects in cooperation with the U.S. government, a monumental $6.62 million endeavor. A community center was also built adjacent to the church, cementing St. Paul's role as a vital community pillar. The following years, under the pastorates of Reverend E.P. Williams, Cyrus Keller, and Richard Parker, the church focused on its internal spiritual life. New choirs and commissions were organized, and a regular Bible study program was begun. Reverend Warren Campbell called the church back to a special re-involvement with the poor through a federally financed food kitchen. This spirit of outreach continued under Reverend Leslie White, who expanded St. Paul's reach with a radio program, prison ministry, and summer youth and tutoring programs. Reverend John Hunter then built on this foundation, initiating seminars on everything from marriage enrichment to drug abuse prevention, and celebrating Black role models with an annual career day. In 1993, Reverend Andrew L. Simpson arrived, quickly rising to visible leadership in the community and helping members feel more connected through his annual church plan book. In 1996, Reverend Stephen Cousin was assigned to St. Paul. He revolutionized the church, bringing it into the digital age with his first webpage and using technology to simplify record keeping. His passion for the sick and shut-in and his support for small congregations left an indelible mark. Reverend Carrie G. Anderson made many enhancements to the church's physical properties and bookkeeping systems, and brought St. Paul's message to the wider community with a Sunday morning radio broadcast. First Lady Phyllis Gearing Anderson started a dynamic youth dance ministry, adding to the spiritual vibrancy of St. Paul. Reverend Mark A. Smith initiated new programs to honor the unsung heroes of the church and created dedicated men's and women's Bible studies, as well as a men's empowerment program. First Lady Jan Smith's Sisters Gathering provided crucial support for women. Reverend Anthony Steele and his wife Teresa led the centerpiece ministry of a dental clinic, providing health care to the uninsured and expanding the church's influence beyond denominational and ethnic groups. Reverend Stephen D. Shepard Sr. arrived in 2011, a truly delightful and diligent supporter of outreach. He was also a huge supporter of youth programming, and under his guidance, the Young People's Department expanded significantly. Under his leadership, St. Paul became even more involved with the community, supporting the National Night Out Block Party and starting the St. Paul Neighborhood Association. He was a financial blessing as well, helping the church expunge a significant amount of debt and setting it on a path toward a financially debt-free future that enabled the remodeling of the sanctuary and kitchen. Reverend Joseph C. Nixon continued this path in 2015, focusing on rekindling relationships with sister churches and working to eliminate all non-operational debt. First Lady Apostle Shalzetta implemented a women's ministry that was a true blessing to St. Paul. Reverend Godfrey R. Patterson then came to St. Paul, faithfully feeding the congregation the bread of life through weekly Bible study, and began a Black History film series. In October 2018, St. Paul AME welcomed its first female pastor, Pamela Mertis Hughes, whose ministry ushered in a season of spiritual renewal. When the pandemic hit in 2020, Pastor Pam's ingenuity and technical skills enabled the church to pivot, creating a virtual presence and offering drive-up communion. The church became a hub for community support, serving as a COVID testing and vaccination site, and partnering with Books and Breakfast ICT to provide meals. Our ministries, from prayer to social action and music, remain vital, with Sunday services still live streamed. In 2024, our education building became a dynamic learning hub for entrepreneurship with Build and Rebuild Incorporated. The church's physical home has also been renewed with a new sound room, renovated women's restroom, and, after a pipe burst, a new HVAC system was installed in June 2025. Pastor Pam has also deeply immersed herself in the community, serving on numerous city and county boards, collaborating with the Wichita Police Department, and organizing a city prayer vigil after the Flight 5342 crash in January 2025, and appeared on Good Morning America 3. She is a powerful civic leader, delivering invocations for the governor and mayor, and has led the church to host voter empowerment forums. With a passion for empowering young people, she actively pursues opportunities to engage them through her support of the Young People's Division, YPD, as well as youth-led forums highlighting various issues that relate to young people. Pastor Pam's fiscal acuity has helped ensure long-term viability of St. Paul. Pastor Pam's dynamic leadership continues to guide us as we celebrate our 150th anniversary and proclaim the year of Jubilee. From a small Christian band meeting in a living room to a thriving beacon of hope and community for 150 years, the story of St. Paul AME is a testament to the power of unwavering faith. It is a story of resilience, of leadership, of community building, and of a people who brick by brick and soul by soul built a legacy that will continue to shine brightly for generations to come. Happy 150th anniversary, St. Paul African Methodist Episcopal Church.